everyone. So we thought, as promised, I'm going to pop on and we're going to speak to the lady where I did the timeline clearing for the other day. So it's a really interesting story. So we thought it was just too much to put in a message, to write it down, to give it to you, and me doing a video on me own. I wouldn't be able to give you all the backstory. So we decided that we'd jump on and do this like video for you, this like podcast, so you can follow it and you can hear the bits and pieces as we went along. So this is my Aunt June, and June's a medium, psychic healer. She's been doing it for many years, and we recently connected over talking about doing timeline work. So it's something that I've been doing for a while now, and I've been doing it for a few of you, and it sort of resonated with June, so she decided that it would be a good idea if we do a few. So we went in and did some research to find out how many we've got and how many we need to do, and it turned out we had three. Well, we think we've got 15 in it. 15 timelines to change, or clear, or change them, I guess is the word. But we had 3 big ones to do. So we'd already done the first one, and the first one is when we did when the sky changed, didn't it? It became all gold, and
that was.
So that was the first one.
The sun just came out like that the minute we finished the meditation.
Yeah.
So that was the timeline about this life.
Yeah. Yeah. So we did
the second
one. The second one, well, we couldn't remember. We had this conversation the other day, didn't we? And neither could actually remember what the second one was, but it was quite deep, wasn't it? It was deep. And June had her notes, because I never really remember them. So June went back through her notes and we found out what that was. And in that, it came apparent that there was a past life one in there that we needed to do. Anyway, let's jump on to the third one. So we did the third one last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And in that, I was given that we had to do a past life, and we had to go in and clear some stuff there to go into a timeline that was still playing out. So we're not knowing what we're going to get to start with, but we went into it, didn't we? So
yeah. And I think it started with me telling you about when I was little.
Yeah.
When I used to see, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was just a dark man dressed in black, and I used to feel him walking up the stairs.
Yeah.
And I was only really, really young, and I didn't want to see him. So I used to get nervous about it, and I never saw him, but I knew exactly he had a black cloak on and this hat, and that's where we started with it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because although your granddad, my dad, he was very spiritual, so I grew up around all that stuff, and you don't know when you're a kid if it's because it's talked about and you're getting it. You don't really, because nobody talks to you about it. They talk about it. So I didn't know if it was his stuff rubbing off on me, really, because he used to see loads of things. So that was the start of it. And then when I started talking to you, funnily enough, I saw, and I said to you, it's called the Sandy Man, didn't I?
Yeah.
Getting over there, I saw, because we used to call it the Sandman when you were in bed. But this was like the port bottle with the Sandman on, and it was sitting there on the cupboard. And that was sort of making me talk more about it, wasn't it? Yeah. So you say I can't remember.
From there, I said to you, have you got another guide?
Oh,
yes. Somebody's come in.
Yeah.
And you were saying to me, no, I don't think so. Like, who is it? And I started tuning into this fella that came in, and it became apparent that he wasn't English. He looked a bit foreign, so we now know that he was probably Portuguese. And I could see him, and he had a bit of a moustache, and it had a hat on, and all that. And it obviously came forward. He was the same person that you had seen as a child, but he was obviously trying to make the connection back then. But obviously, you were too scared to be able to do it. And of course, he's coming now. So we thought we'd get his name, didn't we?
It was so big.
Yeah.
Because I was upstairs in bed and I could feel him coming up the stairs. So quite unnerving, really, when you think about it.
Young,
but so where did we start with that? I saw the bottle there with the butler, which I now recognise as Butler Port, because he was Portuguese.
Yeah.
Or half Portuguese, probably.
Well, we got his name, didn't we? That was the
we
thing.
did.
We find out who he was. And it turned out that he was your son in another lifetime.
Yeah.
And as the story starts to unfold that we're getting, and he's giving us the information, we realise that this is a past life. So we know that we've got to go in and change this past life and get to the story of it. But that's when you remembered as well that this had been going on a long time for you with the Portuguese link.
Well, nearly 25 years. Because I used to sit in group with this lady, and she wanted to buy this house, this big house, to run a spiritual centre. And she asked me and a friend, another friend that used to go to her group, to go with her to go and view the house. And we'd been there in the daytime, actually, and we'd done a group there in the daytime in the ballroom, which was beautiful. But this was an evening thing. So, of course, you know, go and have a look. And as we're going along, to start with, she said, well, what I was thinking, if I did get it, I'd like to ask you and Charlie to be caretakers there, because I'd need somebody to live there. I didn't ask why she didn't want to live there. I had no idea, but probably because I had a husband and he could do jobs. That was probably my thinking. Anyway, so we gets there. We walked through the ballroom and into this staircase, where the staircase was in the middle of the house. And I just had this overwhelming feeling that I'd walked up those stairs before. I hadn't, because I'd only stayed in the ballroom when we did group. So we walked up the stairs, and the corridor that ran along the middle of the house was this very long corridor, because it was a big old mansion house. So I started walking, and I saw this woman walking towards me. In fact, this is the colour of the
blue. Yeah.
the blue. I was trying to explain to you, wasn't I? The colour of the dress. She was young. She had very dark hair, very tiny, but she had a ball gown on. I could see a neck. I could see the blue of the dress. I could actually draw it. I could almost feel the material. But she was rushing along this corridor, and she walked through me. And I'd never experienced anything like that. And it was, honestly, I didn't put this on for this. It was just the thing that jumped out the cupboard when I was trying to get ready. So I said to the lady that took us, oh my God, what was all that about? Because it knocked me, because it was with a force.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me and said, well, that's why, more or less, this is why I brought you, because that was you in that life. Really? She said, and because I've lost a son in this life, she said, I think the connection is she lost a child.
Yeah.
And she walks the corridor. She's not at rest because she lost that child. This was what the gist of it was. I mean, it is a long while ago, but this was the gist of it. So we walked around the house. I didn't mention it again to anybody, probably Charlie, but not to the lady that ran the group or the other lady. We never talked about it again. It was, oh yeah, that, you know, I get a lot of things happen to me that are unexplainable. So I wasn't really putting any more to that. So then that was all done, come out there. She didn't get the place, so didn't have to go and live there again. Obviously, if that was me in that life, and I don't know how I'd feel about going back living there now, do I? Anyway, roll on the years. I go to the Painting Spiritualist Church, and I met a lady who became my friend, and I was forever being told you're not a medium, you're a healer. Well, I didn't want to be a healer. I wanted to be a medium because losing a son, it was the loveliest thing that you get a message. But this other lady wanted to be my friend. She said, I'm a master Reiki and I'll teach her. So I said, oh, all right then. If that's like that, I said, oh, that's come out of the blue. And she went, no, I just didn't, I don't talk about it. So I went, okay. So, of course, I goes and does the first week. And the next time I goes back to get the second lot of attunement, she said, today we're going for lunch at the pub. Okay, fun. This pub sits on that line to this big house. So we comes out the pub and you walk past the church, called the Church House Inn. And there's this monument outside and it's undercover and you can look through the railings and there's two people laying in this, they're all marbled, but laying in this crypt. Yeah. And she knew nothing about the first event. She looked at me like that, she went, that's you lying there. What are you talking about? That's me lying there. So here we go again. This is the same connection to the house. So make that what you like, because I didn't ask any questions about it. I just accepted it. But the other day when we started this, that Sandy man, the guy with the cloak and the hat was which you then got, didn't you? Yeah. The guy, I thought it was a child, a young child that had died, but actually it wasn't, was it? Young adult. You got a message from him. Yes, he started talking and communicating with me to tell me what the connection was in this past life. So you had been his mum. Yeah. So the story is, when we went in and did the past life, is you came over from Portugal. Yeah. You married into quite a wealthy family and you lived in that house. Yeah. Yeah. And this was my second son called Andie. Andie, yeah. And my other son that passed in this life, Stuart, who was a young adult that died, was with him. He'd brought him, hadn't he, Trace? Yeah. So I had two sons standing next to me that are in spirit. Yeah. So what actually happened in the past life was the two boys, the two sons that you had in that life, had a bit of a kerfuffle, and it was an accident, but Andie fell over and he fell down the stairs. So as he fell down, obviously, you know, it was a bit drastic. He was never going to recover from that, and he died on that stairwell. So you, as his mum in that life, came over to sort of help him, and I don't know why he was in the ball gown. There must have been something else going on or been going on, and you run down to help him. You was holding him and he died. So what we could make out from that lifetime then was that it was hushed up. It was kept quiet, wasn't it? Yeah. That there was an accident. 1800s. Yeah, I think it was around about there. I reckon it was well 1800s, because it was the era when people lived in those big houses and had servants, and you could feel, even when I went back and there was nothing in there, you could feel the grandeur of it. Yeah. So it's a big sweeping staircase, wasn't it? I'm not sure if it had two sides to it, round a bit like the Downton Abbey type thing, but we could only see the one side of the big one bit that went up. Yeah, right. So he obviously fell over and fell down and fell on the stairs, and obviously he there was blood there, and maybe he broke his neck. I don't really know what actually happened, but he died, and he was in his 30s, early 30s. Yeah. And you was obviously there looking after him. So in that, it was kept quiet. We're not sure if people were talking at that time saying that he committed suicide or something like that. We didn't know what happened, but he seemed to be quiet, and then we get that the locals were making up their own mind about what had actually happened, and a lot of them were saying that either he was murdered or he committed suicide, but it was all hushed up. It wasn't very, spoken about. But you, of course, as his mum,
you sort of lost the plot a bit, didn't you, in that life? You were roaming around still in this timeline that was playing out, which was a past life. You wasn't at peace.
That was it. That was the reason behind, I expect, doing that past life. Because there was part of me that was still walking about around that house. Because I could feel it.
Your soul, your soul was lost and just.
And it's really funny, that night before any of that happened, I went in that hallway. Like, it was a big hallway, but dark. Normally their hallways were quite bright up, that they was on show, wasn't they? When you see any of those houses got sweeping staircases,
big lights.
This was like in the middle of the house, dark, and I don't know what that was. I felt that. Now I can't say I felt that, but I didn't feel at ease when I went in that bit. When I come out the ballroom and got in that bit, I didn't feel at ease.
Yeah.
And I suppose I wasn't that far along on my spiritual journey for doing the mediumship and the healing. I mean, it was, although I'd always done it, I hadn't really worked at it.
Yeah.
You have to work at it, don't you? Like, it's like a muscle, you have to work it. But stuff used to happen to me more than I did anything with it.
Yeah.
So I obviously was in touch with the feelings of it, because it felt oppressive standing in that hallway before we went up. And I remember touching the banister and thinking, oh, there was a recognition when I went to walk up the stairs before she walked towards me. I can see it as clear as day. Even now, when I shut my eyes, I can see her.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't play on my mind. It's only come up because of all this.
Yeah.
And I didn't ask the questions. I should have asked. This lady used to run groups. She could have answered questions probably, but it didn't. And maybe because it hadn't been that long since I'd lost Stuart, to be honest. So maybe I didn't want to know.
Yeah, possibly.
In my own mind, when she said lost a child, I thought, because when you walk right down the corridor and at the end it overlooked the garden, like there was an out bit you could walk through, and it was all wrought iron, and you looked over the wrought iron and there was a lake.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I bet that was a young child and it had died in the lake.
Yeah.
Because she was walking that, because I think the lady said to me, oh, she don't stop walking this corridor.
Yeah.
So that was what went in my head. Not that was correct. Because only now we've got that he's an older. And that's how I've always seen him. When he used to come in when I used to feel him up the stairs, I felt him as an older. That's why I wouldn't have put that with this life. It wasn't clear then to what that was, why he would walk up the stairs. He was probably trying to come and be with me.
Yeah.
But I was too scared. But it's only doing that timeline, that's shown it up for who he was and why he came dressed like that. Because in Portugal, we know, don't they? They used to wear those.
Yeah.
Well, men did used to wear those cape things, but this was just like that man that used to be on the bottle of port.
Yeah. So you conscious made the connection to that figure on the bottle, that you knew that figure from somewhere and you were drawn to it. Yeah.
And then going on from all of that, because I work now, I work at this stuff, I'm a healer and do all that stuff. I'd come in from my workroom into the house and I said to Charlie, I've got to go to Portugal. Really? What do you want to? He loves an holiday, but it was, really? That's not on the plane. You just walked in and said that. I said, yep, I need to go to Portugal. And it was so, I've not had that feeling about going on holiday or before, like, okay, we'll go there. We sort it out between us. But this was, I had to go.
Yeah.
And we went, I don't know where it was. I can see the bench and I can see where we was. I can't remember the name. It was inland.
Yeah.
Wasn't by the coast. And funny enough, that day we'd walked around a lot. There's all these buildings, high buildings, and the stalks, all the stalks nest on anything they can find. So the whole place was, and that's why we stopped to sit down, to be honest. We was looking at the stalks because they was bloody everywhere. I mean, you don't see them here, do you?
No.
They nest, these great big nests, and they sit in them. It's fascinating. Anyway, we sat on this bench, and I shuddered. And I was looking at the landscape, and I went, this is it. This is where I come from. I mean, maybe there's more to the story, Trace, because was I, courted in Portugal, or was I just brought over?
Yeah.
Them days, how did that work? Was you, because it was almost like arranged marriages then, wasn't it?
That's
Did
right.
I have a wealthy family?
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't know. I mean, the house would have been very wealthy, because when you pass it now, they had a gatehouse, and that's somebody's home.
Yeah.
And that would have been the main entrance.
Yeah.
Just off of the main road as you go into Totnes. It's on your left.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating, isn't it? I look at that and think, oh, even now. And when we go that way, I always look over.
Yeah.
Because it's so prominent, you can see it amongst all the trees and everything. It's changed now. It's apartments.
Right.
But that it's so, and that even getting that strong feeling about going to Portugal and sitting on, I mean, we only because Charlie drives everywhere and he wants to see everywhere, that I probably got there. But it was that knowing when I sat on that bench. And there's nobody that, I know what's weird about this stuff, Trace. Nobody can convince you that you got that wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's such a feeling of knowing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And everything about me, and I think he remembers, we forget things because we're getting older, but Charlie does remember me sitting there and going, this is it.
Yeah.
This is where I come from. And I was looking into the distance over there. It was a bit like living here, you can see all the hills. And so I've got no idea what was over there. But I just felt
the energy of the place resonated with you, didn't it?
Yeah, I've just felt that this was it. So maybe that was part of putting it to bed, to be honest.
It feels like your just has been sort of playing out all this time to try and get to resolve this that's been going on, doesn't it? It feels like
and that's when you come up with a timeline, which I'd never heard of. Of course, I'd heard of past lives. I've had a few shown to me, but you don't think, I didn't know or think that it was playing out. I thought that was just something that I had to witness. Because it was all quite early days, but all that stuff, it never stopped happening. Even before, when I was younger, there was such a knowing about this.
Yeah.
So this was just another
thing.
Really.
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh, okay, yeah, that's what happens. It wasn't, of course, it is a big deal because everybody would like to have those experiences. But when it happens to you a lot, it's not, you just go, again,
Yeah, get used to it.
I'm so used to it because so much used to happen. Granddad was a night, he used to talk to him.
Yeah.
So, it was part of who I was, really.
Yeah.
But that was, and it was the colour of the dress and the way it looked. It was so vivid.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
I mean, and I literally felt her walk through me. She didn't walk through the other two, she walked through me.
For you, yeah. So we sort of pieced this together, haven't we, as we've been doing the past life thing, and Andie came in to talk to me, to guide me to where to go with it and what needed to be done. So what it turns out is that part of June's soul was not at peace. So it's a bit like soul loss in shamanism. Sort of, it needed to be put to rest. There needed to be forgiveness done there, didn't there? There needed to be a resolution, so that you could move on in this life. So everything would be put back together, if you like. So he told us what to do. So then we went in and did the timeline clearing. So we went in. Did we go in and do the past? Did we do this in the past life tense, or did we go into the timeline and do it? This is a bit, because once, if you don't record this stuff, you can't always remember what happens, can you?
Well, you was talking to me, and I just went off. I don't remember what you were saying to me. We do need to record it if we do it again, I expect.
Yeah, I think we need to record in the future.
I was doing this. I was doing
this. So I think, yes, we went into the timeline, and in that timeline, because we decided what you were going to do, to make amends, ask for forgiveness, because I think like Andie had a thing with it as well, didn't he? Because he wasn't recognised that it was an accident, and people were just talking. It was kept quiet, and you being disassociated from it and roaming the hallway. It needed to be, you know, forgive yourself, I think, was the basis of what it was, for what had happened. And so you went into the timeline. So then when you're in there in your meditation doing it, I could see you doing this.
It was about
you were doing this,
talking to him. I was doing that. I can remember doing that and doing it. Was this? It was, I don't know.
You were talking to him. You're talking to Andie, and you was also talking to yourself in that timeline, as you was previously, as the Portuguese woman with the dark hair. Yeah.
And I was asking his forgiveness, really, because I didn't have enough awareness, or I think maybe women of that era didn't have a voice.
Yeah, you just kept, it was all kept quiet. It was just, there was definitely a secrecy around it, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was.
It just felt like the whole funeral, the whole thing that went on, it was all just really quiet and just kept really quiet. And like, wanted to make that connection. So between the two of you, you had to make that connection back again. And he'd waited all this time. I know Spirit don't have a concept of time, do they? So for us, it seems a long time, maybe not so much for him. And you went in and you had to forgive part of yourself and acknowledge that it was allowed to happen, because you didn't have a voice. You couldn't really do anything about it. So your soul wasn't at rest when your son died.
Yeah, and it was because him and the other son had been squabbling or playing about or rowing or whatever they were doing. We never really got to the bottom of that, did we?
Yeah, we don't know why they were doing it, but we know there was a bit of a kerfuffle going on. It's to be an accident.
Probably for his sake as well. It was quiet. It had to be kept quiet, and I just got that feeling now that she didn't have a voice.
Yeah.
Because a woman was in there, had to be put in their place, didn't they?
Yeah.
The men was in charge.
Look pretty and do what they're supposed to do, weren't they? Really entertaining.
Yeah. So I expect grief was pushed under the carpet. You know, she couldn't grieve for him. Well, she probably did, but not in the way that you meant to do it. But she was probably not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, because of the circumstances of it.
Because of it, yeah. So interesting. I mean, when that happened, that's 20 odd years ago now, you don't really realise you're going to revisit that. And goodness knows what they've done to that beautiful house, if it's all apartments. So, she would have still been walking around.
That's right, yeah. She would have been lost. She would have still been roaming around.
Yeah.
When you do the timeline stuff, you have to go in and fix all the different timelines, whatever the scenario is that's playing out. So that was just one of yours playing out. So in this lifetime, you lost a son in this lifetime. So sometimes when things are not resolved, it repeats, the history repeats, and it can be many years or lifetimes down the line that it repeats as well. but also because yourself, like having stuff done, is because there was still grief and stuff there for you, and it was still playing out in this other lifetime as well, in this timeline. So we had to sort of fix the two. So you did. I was watching. Well, most of the time when I'm doing the timeline, I'm sitting holding the energy and I've got my eyes closed. I'm not necessarily looking at the person. But if there's movement going on, I sense there's movement. So then I open my eyes, I'll see what's going on. And you were kept on rubbing your hands like this. You were crying. You were holding like your face as if you was talking to someone or talking to yourself in that timeline. And it took you a little while to come out of that one as well, didn't it? It was
pages. And you asked me if I could see Stuart.
Yeah.
Didn't you? Because Stuart was he was here, wasn't he?
Doing the work with you. Yeah.
And I didn't.
So I could hear someone walking about.
Yeah.
But you obviously couldn't, but I could hear him. Yeah.
No, I couldn't. You didn't see him?
No, I didn't see him, no.
And Stuart is the son that I lost in this life. And he was 20. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I really thought if that was that life, that I always thought, oh, I wonder if that's connected. Mm-hmm. I really thought that actually, because, you know, this is, I didn't play on losing that son. I didn't think about it, to be honest. But now, thinking about it, you know, that's, and they're both here, and they're
so Andie's now become a guide for you. And you have two sons in spirit looking after you now. It's just amazing. So Andie flips between, because obviously June's son Stuart is my cousin, who I grew up with, and obviously Andie now. So we made the connection. So they flit about as they do.
Oh, and all the lights
Andie coming to me.
Right, so the lights have gone off over there again.
Oh, they.
Oh, the orbs are here.
Oh,
they're all down in that corner. So the pair of them are probably here.
Yeah. So like. Andie said that we need to get it out there, but I couldn't. We had this discussion, didn't we, about how are we going to do it, because it's just too much of the story, and it is fascinating story as well, isn't it? When you piece it together. So I knew none of this about the Portugal connection. I didn't know anything about it. So when I'm going in doing it, I'm going in blind because I haven't got a clue. But obviously, it starts to resonate with June as we go along. So we're able to put the story together and. To unravel and play out as we're doing it. But yeah, Andie did pop in and say that we need to record it and let people hear the story, because it's I think it's a good one, isn't it? It's fascinating.
And you know, the other funny thing about all this, Trace, they're called Portuguese tarts.
Yeah.
And I can't walk past them in a shop. I'm not bothered about anything else.
Yeah.
But if there's a Portuguese tart there, I have to buy it.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. And I've got another son, and he buys them. Yeah. So it's so interesting. But the thing that really that gave it away was because he kept showing me standing there like the Sandy man. And that is I'm sure that's an old-fashioned pole from when I was young.
I'll have to get a picture of it so I can see it. I might can Google it and have a look.
I'm sure it's called the Sandyman pole. I'll ask Charlie, but I'm sure it is. But that's what he kept showing me when we started. So, and that's why I started telling you about that, which I thought was a dark figure coming to get me.
Yeah.
Well, I did have awful brothers that used to torment the life out of me.
Yeah.
So I probably thought that's why that was, because of that.
How do you feel now after it's been where are we now?
Only a week.
It's about a week, nearly a week now, isn't it, since we've done that?
I don't know how I feel about it, Trace. I suppose.
Do you feel like you're at peace?
Yeah. I feel a bit at peace about Stuart as well, to be honest, since we've done that, because for me, and this is crazy because we know that you go home and you're with everybody, but I feel like he's got somebody with him now, although
Yeah.
he always did have,
Yeah.
because they've come together now. But and the interesting thing, when I did a healing the other day, it was Stu don't work with me so much now, but he does come in, he does pop in. But he did the other day, and he hadn't done that for ages. So
Yeah.
whether that's because he's more around because of this, I don't know, but maybe. I haven't really asked him, which is one of my traits, really. I should ask more. But I
That's
just
different. I ask all the questions, don't I? I'm like an investigator.
you can't get over it because I just trust it for what it
Yeah.
is. And I get told stuff and then I think, oh yeah, that makes sense. And
Yeah.
I leave it there. But obviously none of that story probably did make sense to me. But I perhaps didn't know who to ask or how to. Because if it was me and I run a group, I'd have to inquire and say, oh, we'll have to look into that. What do you want to talk to me about? How did that feel? But it weren't like that. It was, this is how it is, and that's what you got, and that was you, and oh, okay then. Which is crazy, I know that if it was probably I'd ask more questions for somebody else than I do myself.
Yeah, because if to go there and get that happen, there's always a bigger picture, isn't there? There's always a reason for it. So we would know that because we've been doing this a long time. We would know that's quite relevant. You need to go and explore that and ask some questions. But I suppose years ago, when we first started doing it, like you say, we'd probably just accept, oh, that's a past life, and it just resonates with me.
Yeah, and it probably did resonate somewhere on me. The bit that really, it did upset me because I did think, oh, that poor woman.
Yeah.
And I wasn't thinking me, not although she said it was me, I just kept thinking that poor woman, she's walking about looking for him. That's what I felt. It was, I could feel the urgency in her to go and find him. And I never had that with Stuart because I knew what happened to him. But I do think it was a bit closer to when Stu died.
Yeah, which is
For
why.
me to look into it probably. And I was probably still, always grieving, but I'm probably still, like, the grief was probably more about Stuart and me asking about that. And I've sometimes maybe traced something in me. I just maybe thought, oh, you're having a laugh. Do you know? And you're saying that's me.
Yeah.
Why would you say that? I didn't. I just maybe went to that place because I'd never physically had that happen to me where somebody walked through me.
Yeah.
And it, like you think there's not anything of them, but the energy of them knocked me backwards. It really pushed me backwards because the energy of that spirit was it was palpable. I could see everything about them.
Yeah. Well, I suppose because it was you.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That's, and then to go to, to go and do the Reiki near there, and that lady, she said to me, that's you, Lena.
You're going to have to go there now and get the name.
I'm going to go and have a look and see what it's. Charlie said he'd take me, so we'll go and have a look at it again. But I haven't been back since then to look at that because maybe, maybe it is because it's sad and you don't want to revisit it. And I've had, all that sadness from my boys in this life.
Yeah.
So there could be a lot of reasons why I just didn't ask the questions. But now I'm better about all that and I'm inquisitive about it.
Yeah.
And I do think there's probably lots of people out there that have lots of experiences that don't talk about them.
Yeah.
And it was, I'd forgotten really. It wasn't until we started doing this stuff. Yeah. But the interesting thing about doing this stuff was it really rang a bell.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was, but I thought, no, I've got to do that. And I didn't know because I don't get that information. My stuff is different to yours.
Yeah.
So when you make, and it made perfect sense to do it. And you hadn't really explained it much to me before. You just said, oh, I've got this message, I've got to do this. And it really just resonated. So that's a knowing in itself.
It is, yeah. Yeah, I find that with a lot of people, they just know when they need to have something done like that. They know when they need healing. They know when they need a or they know the person, don't they? They go to and do it with.
Yeah, because when
we
did the last one, it was actually Stuart's birthday, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
And I didn't think, oh, I've got to urgently do the next one. It wasn't like that. It was like, I know, there was like a knowing that I needed to do this one.
We did it on the 3-3 portal, didn't we? That's what I was saying to you. Like, you know, it's a portal today. Is that why you want to do it today? And you went, no, not really. I do sort of know, but that wasn't the reason.
No, it was
powerful, isn't it?
The urgency of it.
Yeah.
It's like there is an urgency with it.
Yeah.
So when I message you and I think, oh, Tracie's probably busy, but I'll message you anyway because I think, no, this is urgent now, whatever that is. And I don't feel the urgency at the minute to do the next one, but it will come.
Come when it's meant to be, won't it? Yeah.
Yeah, like this. This was it was so meant, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so interesting. And even though it happens to me, I'm still fascinated by it myself because you can't, I literally have not got that big an imagination to make that up. I couldn't make it up.
Well, I mean, this is why we got to record our stuff because you can't make this stuff up, can you? It's just amazing.
No. And you know what? Most days I go, well, you just can't make that up. Because even me doing the cards for somebody, because I don't read the book, I'm saying the words and getting the mediumship and people are tuning in and talking to me from spirit. And you give them all this information, and then I come in here and I take a photo of all the cards and the meanings out of the book. I've just sat and read what I did this morning, and I thought, oh my God, that is just so. Even in the book, it was spot on to what I told her.
Yeah.
And I go to myself again, and you just can't make it up. I don't pick those cards. I don't know about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I do say to everybody, I'm not that clever, to be honest, to know this stuff. I'll just channel it.
Yeah, just comes in.
It just comes through. Yeah.
It's taken a long time to get to where we are, isn't it? To do what we do. It's like we just woke up and it was there. We've had to go through a lot of stuff to get here.
But it was Stu, really, that I already could do the stuff, but I didn't practice it.
Yeah.
And it was Stuart passing. It was the wake-up call. And ain't the right, you know, when you're a human, you don't want that as a wake-up call. But I'm afraid that's what it was.
It was, yeah.
So that's when I went looking.
Yeah. Well, look, do, don't they? Go and try and get some answers and so know if their other half, their loved one, his spirit is okay.
Yeah.
Everything, don't they?
That's where you start. This is changing the subject a bit. When Grandad died, because he died quick and he was young, and there was a lady used to live round by Nan, and I went and booked myself up to talk to her because I wanted to know that he was. You just want to know they're all right.
Yeah.
So we was in her little back room, round the corner to where Nan lives, and she sat in that chair and I sat in this chair, and all she kept saying to me is, "Would you like to swap chairs because you could read for me?" I was 22 and I thought, nah. No, I'm going to her, what are you talking about? No, I was really, it really rattled my cage then. And because she just kept on at me, would you swap chairs with me and you read for me? No, I've come to see my dad's all right. And yet you know they're all right, really, but you just need the confirmation.
Well, he used to torment me a lot, didn't he? That was my experience. I think I was like 5. How old was I when? Was I 5 or 6? Around about that age.
Yeah, but if I was, I don't know the difference in our age, Trace. I was 22. I just had Darren.
Yeah.
So that was
About right, I
1969.
just sort of started school, and he used to call me name, and I used to think God was talking to me. I used to go look, see who's calling me first, and note everyone was asleep, and then I'd mention it, and I'd get blank stares, like, oh. And I just think, oh, it must be God then. I didn't understand it was Grandad, and I know that tickles him. So I've been calling him God when I was little because I didn't know it was.
I never heard his voice. I used to see him all the time, plain as day.
Yeah. He was my guide. He's the one that I used a lot of my younger years up until I got more comfortable with this. I always used to have like my granddad there because I knew that he did this. I'd heard all the stories and everyone had told me, and I felt comfortable that it was granddad. But then obviously it changes as you get older. You realise who your guides are and your angels and all of that.
Yeah.
I'm sure he does play a part and comes in every now and again, but he's not.
Does.
Not a big player.
He was, for a spirit, he was very powerful. Because it must take an awful lot for them to come as a to look like he used to look completely. Everything I could see everything about him. So it must have been quite, his power must have been quite strong to do that.
Yeah.
The day
it goes back down the line. So was it his mum that was like it? Where does it follow through?
Yeah, his mum, his sister. I used to go to my nan's house and they'd all talk about it. I mean, it was openly, but it was the days when we was told, like, I was amongst it all, so I did see things and know things, whatever that was. And my nan would always say to me, outside of this house, you don't talk about this.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't, you'd get locked up. You'd be put in the bleeding nut house for saying.
We did the persecution thing, didn't we, as well, which we forgot to mention in that.
Yeah, and it was the throat, so that was shutting. It didn't shut me down spiritually, but it shut the throat down.
Yeah.
And perhaps that was why I didn't ask the questions as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Because of being shut down, like not to talk about it. Even my dad really used to say, you can't talk about this stuff, what we get, what what was what would happen. I knew my nan was in spirit. I knew she died because I think I went to the funeral. I was young. I was really close to her, but I used to go because my aunt then had that house, and I used to go round there from school. And even though I knew she was dead, she wasn't, because I'd go in and she'd be sitting in the same chair. She always sat and waited for me when I was coming home from school.
Yeah.
She was always there.
It's funny how you see death different when you're younger, isn't it? Because you don't think of them as gone, especially when you're us. You just think that they're still there, or you can still see them and hear them. So you don't have the same reaction to it as when you get older. You realise you're not going to see them physically again.
Yeah.
Remember that? And I wasn't upset when my nan died.
Yeah, because to me, there was no, I wasn't thinking that way. There was no barrier. Because it was the East End, they used to put the key behind the flap. So you put your hand in, get the key and go. I'd let myself in, and I'd walk down the corridor, past the stairs and round the next bit of corridor, and she'd be sitting in the chair facing me. And that's where she always sat.
Yeah.
So I didn't know. I probably did used to go in and talk to them, but they wouldn't have took no notice because they was all like it.
They were doing it and all.
They was more suspicious with it all.
Yeah.
And then used to say there was banging on. There'd always be banging something. The windows are banging. And she'd go, oh, that's someone's going to die. And I used to think, really? Because there's tapping on the window. But that's how they see it. Yeah. So they did talk openly, but I don't know if she actually, what she saw. Because she didn't say that. So I know my dad saw it. He did see things. and he was forever telling them off to go away.
Yeah. Probably where we get our, well, I don't know where we get our swearing from. We go, say off now.
He did swear every day. I used to be embarrassed by him. And I always thought, I'm not going to swear because that sounds awful. But you grow up and you do.
So, yeah, we want a bit of peace.
Yeah.
So we've decided when we do the next timeline that we're going to try and record it, aren't we now?
Yeah,
so we don't have to try and remember what happened. Obviously, this one's stuck in our mind because it was quite an amazing one, wasn't it, to put together this one? It's interesting anyway.
Well, it's even more interesting because Andie was talking to you and he gave you the initials of his name, didn't he?
Yeah.
So knowing you, Tracie, you can probably talk to him more.
No. Yeah, I can. Yeah,
get more of the backstory. I don't know. Yeah, it might be interesting if you do talk to him. I don't get that so much from my guides. I don't. I suppose if I ask the questions, perhaps I will. But I think it's because I work on a different channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do the same sort of stuff, don't we? Yeah. But we do it differently.
Yeah.
And I always talk to my guides quite a lot and get a lot of information through. I like I say, I'm a bit like a detective. I want to know the why fors with it. And I don't know if that's because when I went into it, people wanted more proof back then. And I don't know if it was just the area or time or whatever, I don't really know, but people wanted to know a bit more. They wouldn't just accept what I was saying. I'd had to get more info, so I got used to doing it. Obviously I might just do it naturally now anyway. I don't consciously think I've got to get loads of things for that person in case they don't believe what I'm saying. I don't think that anymore, but maybe that's just the way I am. But I've always really like to know what are they doing here and why are they here and why are they following me about for a start. Why are you with me all the time? You don't get a peace, do you?
No. I've put a stop to that though, because it used to be wake you up in the night and talk. I used to get that. I don't get that now. But it is interesting the way you work differently. Although we do the same, it's different. Yeah. And that's probably because you've got to do that, do that timeline thing about asking the questions. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bit bizarre how that come in. Well, it evolves and changes, doesn't it, as you go on and you start doing different things and you hear about something and you think, oh, that's quite interesting. I wonder how that works then. And then go in and start reading about it, learning about it, doing it and all of that. So, yeah, it's I find it really interesting. I did the timeline things for me and then other people liked doing them. And I realised, this is the thing. You can actually do this and go in and clear up the timeline. So, yeah.
Brilliant.
Interesting.
You don't realise that all those lives are still playing out.
Yeah.
I do now. I get it. Totally get it now. But before we did all this, I wouldn't have thought. I honestly felt sorry for. Of course, I did, because of the losing the child thing. And I did think, oh, that's a bit odd. Keep running up and down. That was still playing. It's still
playing out.
It's now hopefully put to bed.
Yeah, but you think that part of your soul was still grieving, still lost, still sort of devastated, and you're playing it out in this lifetime as well because it happened to you again.
Yeah.
So
it's a double whammy.
Yeah, to get peace, get your soul in. It just felt like it needed peace to me. That's explain that.
Yeah. So well, see what the next one be.
Yeah, but we never know what they're going to be. I know because I've got other people that are going to watch this that have done timeline stuff, and we never know until we're actually doing it on the day what we're going to.
Yeah, I mean,
it's all different.
Well, not by us. It wasn't planned.
No,
I wasn't even thinking of that. To be honest, I just knew I had to do whatever it was I needed to do.
Yeah, I think it's when the energy's good, isn't it? Because it's like a portal. And I remember saying to you, I think we did the last one on a special date as well, but we couldn't remember what it was. Yeah. It was Stu's birthday. Yeah. That's why we did it on that day.
Yes. I mean, and that wasn't consciously thinking that either. that, oh, it's Stu's birthday, I'll do it today.
Yeah, no.
Wasn't a conscious thought.
No.
So
we have lots of stories to tell. So otherwise, I don't know how long we've been on here. Oh, nearly 2 hours. So we could go on forever. So we decided that we're going to have our conversations and tell you our stories and what unravels for us as time goes along, and hope that you find it interesting. So if you're interested in our stuff, then you can go on and follow us. We're on Facebook, we have websites and stuff. I'll link them all below to where you can find us. And yeah, please do. Or if you want to have anything done, connect with us. And we're going to put this onto YouTube. So by the time that some of you will be seeing this, it'll be on there. So do follow us and share it and send your friends our way if you find it interesting, which I'm sure you will do. Anyway.
I'm sure.
Our bizarre life. This is what really happens.
Coming out of a psychic family from the East End.
Yeah. So we sign off now, as it's 2 hours and we're going to lose people by now. So we just say goodbye. And thanks for listening, everyone. So hopefully you'll follow us and we'll catch you all again soon. So bye for now.
Bye.